So 2019 has been crazy for Bitcoin SV, and there are just so many things. So many developments happening right now. Let's talk about first with the lifting of op return data limit size. Tell us more about it.
Right, okay, that's been amazing to watch. So op return is an opcode in the Bitcoin programming language, which can be used to embed data onto the blockchain. And on the Bitcoin core chain, the developer groups had limited the size to 80 bytes, which is fairly small. And on Bitcoin Cash, it had been lifted to 220 bytes. But we've always believed in the power of unlimited Bitcoin. Lift the limits, let Bitcoin grow to its full potential. So Steve Shatters, who I work with at nChain, who is the technical director of the Bitcoin SV node team, found a way to be able to lift the data size limit for op return without a consensus protocol change by just having miners make changes to their configurations and allowing whatever size they wanted to accept. That happened just about a week ago, and very quickly the Bitcoin development community has exploded. Cambrian explosion of attempted new usages of this larger data size limit, or unlimited data size. So we've seen very quickly a serverless website powered on the BSV blockchain where all the data of the site is in a single op return transaction. And there's also bitcoinfiles.org, which has provided a service now where you could store video, content, images on the Bitcoin SV blockchain because of the new unlimited power of op return. So the reason I'm so excited about it is it's real validation for us that the path we chose to follow with Bitcoin SV, the Satoshi vision, lifting the limits, letting it scale as big as possible, was right, and that developers would think of amazing new usages of Bitcoin if you just give them the potential unlimited power to do so. And finally, I think what I want to say, particularly to the big enterprises of the world who may be watching this is the signal, the start of Bitcoin SV becoming the world's new data carrier network, where the blockchain can be used to store and transmit data of all kinds. It's really remarkable, and I think we're at the start of something very special.
That is so true, and there's no need for a hard fork or some intense communities drama.
No more developer fights, please. No more protocol fights, and that's part of our path of Bitcoin SV. Restore the original Satoshi protocol. Keep it stable, leave it alone. Lift the limits and let developers build on top of the chain, and that will unleash creativity with no bounds.
So let's simplify this for the enterprise level, because there is such unlimited opportunities for them. Can you cite an example that businesses can do within the BSV protocol, blockchain protocol?
Well, a good example is just seeing that you can create essentially a version of Dropbox on Bitcoin SV, right? Where data of all varying types and sizes can be stored on the blockchain. Miners will get paid fees for it. It's much cheaper. You can pay micropayments for access to individual files as opposed to, let's say, a monthly subscription fee like you do with a Dropbox type service. We've seen an attempt already to create video streaming with the op return field. So you could create a live video streaming service. If I'm a big enterprise, one of the things I would be thinking about are what kinds of data could I store on the Bitcoin SV blockchain that I'd want to be able to pair with the ability to access or give access to that data to other people in exchange for micropayments, right? Instead of having large volume fees, you could very individualize the access to data, and I think that opens up a whole new world of business models.
And easier, because you can do that via fiat, right? And there's one more development that happened recently, because in November, 64 MB block was mined by BSV.
64 megabytes, yeah.
Yes, and followed by January 3, 103 MB.
103, yes.
And just recently, you were able to sustain 24 hours straight a 64 MB block. What does this mean to the community of Bitcoin and also for businesses?
So it is a step towards fulfilling the Satoshi vision of a massively scaled Bitcoin blockchain. So as you mentioned, there have been individual blocks mined on Bitcoin SV on the live network of 64, 65 megabytes in size, and on January 3rd of this year, 103 megabytes in size. But we know that that's not enough to have a massively scaled network. There has to be the ability to have blocks of that and much bigger size on a sustained, ongoing, repeat basis. So the Bitcoin SV node team at nChain created a new scaling test network dedicated to just Bitcoin SV. Daniel Connolly, Steve Shatters, and their team worked on that, have designed new solutions to improve the ability of blocks to propagate across the network at bigger size, and tested on the scaling test network how much the network could sustain larger blocks. And recently, Daniel posted in a very nicely written blog report summaries of that test result showing 24 hours of sustained, I mean repeated 64 megabyte blocks, and even getting to 100 and 128 megabytes, which he acknowledged showed more difficulty, but demonstrated that their solutions they're building are actually working. And so their next step is to plan a public stress test on the live network to show that this can be done on actually the live network. And they are confident that with increased work on the solutions to improve block and transaction propagation, they can demonstrate BSV has the capacity for even bigger than 128 megabyte blocks on a sustained, repeated basis. One day I hope to look back and think that 64 megabytes, 128 megabytes sustained is really small. We're envisioning much bigger. In fact, later this year, I know the plan is on Bitcoin SV to raise the default block cap to 512 megabytes as another step towards getting to 1 to 2 gigabytes in size. And one day, much like op return, no limits. I think that's our message. We believe in Bitcoin, hashtag no limits.